And like we were talking about before this, you never like at an end point. In fact, the more I learn, the more I feel like, oh my goodness, I'm just beginning. Like I'm on the front end of learning about this thing. And in my life, especially in the last like 5 or 6 years, I look back every 6 months and I think, oh, I didn't know anything 6 months ago. Like, holy smokes, like I didn't know anything 6 months ago. And so I know for a fact that in 6 months, like next winter, I'm going to look back on this interview saying, why are you even on that podcast? You didn't know anything, like.
Well, I hope what we can do is at least get like in this way, what I've found is that it isn't that the things, it's sort of like if you were taught American history in the second grade, you're going to get a story that's true, but it's not the whole story, right? It doesn't include all the richness and the dynamics. And the reality is anytime I say this kind of almost as a preface, just to discussing theology in general. Okay. Like the deeper you get, the less clear a lot of things become. Okay. There are things within the Christian message that all Christians can agree on. But when you start getting more and more into details, you find that every single one of us at some part, we start to have our own ideas. But those things naturally are, they're the details, they're not, and I think it's okay to theologize and try and sort it out and have our own ideas about what things mean, but always tentatively. Always with the understanding that we could be wrong, that we could be corrected.
Yes.
And always, at least for myself, trying to be consistent with the collective witness of both scripture and living prophets.
Yeah. So like I always give this caveat that if I change I reserve the right to change my view tomorrow. Like if the Lord wants to tear down my understanding and build it back up again, sorry, just how it works. Like if I call you tomorrow and say, hey, I have a different view tomorrow, that could happen. Like
definitely.
Okay. I look at imagine if you were born in a house without windows or doors and you never saw outside and the Lord came to you and said, hey, there's big mountains outside your house. And you're like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And he's like, well, there's big rocks. And you're like, I don't even know what a rock is. And he's like, well, there's big triangles. And you're like, oh, I know what a triangle is. And then you get excited and you build a religion around it. And you go and tell everybody in your house, there's big triangles outside. And then he comes back to you and says, well, they're not really triangles there. And he starts teaching you about what a mountain really is. Well, there's two things you could do. You could get mad and say, well, God just lied to me. Or you could understand that the Lord has to kind of shatter some concepts that you think are airtight in order to give you a fuller vision or picture of what the truth is.
That's a perfect analogy. I really like that. I'm going to use that in the future, by the way.
Go for it. So, my friends and I always refer to it as shattering triangle. So we'll always say, have a new triangle, knowing that it's a sharper picture, but the chance of that thing being broken down in the future is probably pretty likely.
If you enjoyed this video, give it a like and hit the subscribe button. Also, if you want more content, including the podcast, go to thoughtful-faith.com. Thanks for watching.